Welcome, welcome to the abruptly and unexpectedly started Clever Orbits. I'm
Yeah, we weren't just
your
screwing
host.
around.
I'm one of your hosts, Louis Brandmeier. This is
What's his name? Tyler Brantmeyer? Yeah, that's my name.
Tyler. His name is
Yeah.
Tyler without a capitalization because we're recording in Zoom and he did not he did not capitalize his name. We're talking
That's
about
right. I kept it casual. That's right. I can also change that, so I'm going to do that now.
we're talking about the movie known as Roger Dodger. What'd you think? Was it good?
Why did you name me that? Why did you name me as a participant? No, you cut that out.
I changed your name. Okay.
Oh, my name. For those who couldn't see the gag, we're going to go R-rated for a second because he renamed me as a participant. My name was Tyler Fucker Brantmeyer,
Yeah, I fixed it.
and
Don't
now
worry.
it's Tyler Surprise, motherfucker, and it's Brantmeyer.
R rated, huh? That's fine. Oh, I have had these sweet
I'm
potato
keeping
lasers
that.
before. All right.
Oh,
Love
really?
this
The
movie.
sweet potatoes are delicious. Eat so many. What's that?
I love this movie. What'd you think?
Roger Dodger it was different from what I expected.
What did you
I
expect?
actually really appreciated it. I don't know. I figured it was going to be funnier. It was really more of a drama than a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
go ahead.
so yeah, no, I kind of knew where you were coming from because pickup artistry is something you've
Studied in the past. We'll talk about it though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about it. But I really I can say what I can say about it, but I really am way more interested in hearing everything that you have to say about the film because of your experience.
All right. So the opening
Self-styled
salvo.
Lothario,
The
Campbell
opening
Scott. Tell
the
me about him.
Yeah, he's so good. He's
Interruptions.
so young here. I really like that.
Hmm.
And so is Jesse Eisenberg is so good and also so young and
First film. His
yeah,
debut is his first film.
first film. I also love the music. The music's really good. So I see
Music is so
through
weird. I thought you would love it.
I see through the loss of so many years of my life playing as somebody like Roger and the necessity to correct for that. And I really didn't understand this movie when I was younger. I thought like, oh, this is cool and we're like talking about women and like this is how to like, relate to women. Okay, great. But now I see how wildly socially and emotionally miscalibrated Roger actually is. He's not clever. He's traumatized. But he is
Yes.
also clever. And so like understanding his character means wrestling with the truth of sexual politics and evolutionary psychology, the ego and how it responds to trauma, male to female dynamics as a subtle phenomenon, and then the heart, like emotional intelligence, fitness, and alchemy, like respecting and honoring what's going on here, and that all takes there's some sophistication required in us unpacking this film. So like I'm already gonna say, by the way, because I've watched it two and a quarter times in the past 3 months. This is the longest, by the way, for our listeners. This is the longest. We can see whatever you're looking at on your computer through your glasses lenses. I can see the
That's
blue.
fine.
It's a blue screen of death. That's what it looks like. All right.
That's fine. That's fine. It's gonna die happy.
All right. I'm going to say that this movie's already a 9 out of 10. But why it's a 9 out of 10? That is what we get to talk about. So there were several moments of compassion, which is so nice because it's so much better than Section 31 or Star Trek Nemesis.
Oh. Yeah, I was willing to watch fucking paint dry after Section 31. I was like, if you can find a 30-hour YouTube video of paint or grass growing or just decomposition in real time, that would have been my jam. I would have been like, yeah, you got it. This is my background noise for the rest of my day. But yeah, I would agree,
um,
mainly because Campbell Scott and Jesse Eisenberg's characters are interesting.
well, Tyler, you know what?
Like they're just interesting. They're worth watching. They make moves that are worth paying attention to.
It's your lucky day because I found deer decomposition in real time. They used to have Rule 34, which is that, if for anything that you could think of on the internet, there's like porn of it or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, there's like, man, this is actually a fascinating video. Okay, back to
Cool. Did
the
you put
movie.
it in the chat?
Back to the movie. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Back to the movie that we're talking about at hand. Everyone in Make Love Easy should watch this movie. So I'm actually serious that this podcast is
Oh,
going
you're
to
gonna
be,
you're gonna include it as part of your course. Okay.
yeah, it's going to be a professional gift for why these men should watch this movie and how they
Dear
should
decomposition. Thank you.
after
All right.
after they watch the movie, they'll
Mhm.
listen to this, but they need to make up their own damn mind, as the Oracle says in the Matrix. So my moments of compassion were number one, and I was really lonely and horny when I was watching this film approximately a month ago. Moments of compassion when he's making out with the
Me
girl.
too.
He's
Uh-huh.
I felt myself deeply aware of my love for kissing a woman because it's been a little while. And the other one, like I'm playing a different game. The game is manifest a wife, which is different than just manifest some jerk off kind of relationship or that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, the next one is when Sophie leaves him in the taxi, you can see on her face that she is aware of the fact that their hearts open together and she does not take that responsibility lightly. Like he's going to be her first love or something. And he's already feeling feelings for her. And she did barely anything. And I think whereas she could have made the choice to like go further with him, she didn't because she was trying to protect him emotionally. And maybe he was underage. But that's another thing we can talk about with this movie, which is that there's a double standard where with older women, it's okay with younger men. Look at The Graduate, right? And other things in life in general.
And real life. Yes, and in real life.
With like teachers. Yeah, with women teachers. Um, but in real
Mm.
life, if a man their age, if the woman see that they couldn't have made that movie because women get approached constantly. They don't need to socialize themselves or build skills in order to be able to approach women or men, excuse me. They don't, which is why they're so far ahead of us because men are clumsily, clunkily approaching them, not knowing what the fuck they're doing or how to speak to them. Now, I will announce to the listeners, my
On this part.
brother
Yeah.
is a fucking social rock star. My brother is a confident lover. Like he's a natural. He's what we call a natural. Like he was just telling me a fun story, a sex story. I'll leave it in the silence, but I'm like, he has women at work who are just like, "Damn, son, you're charming as fuck and hilarious to boot. Would you come home with me today?" And then that happened, right? Wasn't that a thing that happened?
Yeah, but we're not going to mention when or where that happens for,
Okay. Okay,
yeah,
yeah, keeping it in the silence. So anyway,
to keep it in the
um,
silence. Just to mention, yeah, but that I
I'm
would
gonna
I
go.
would disagree with a lot of what you said. I just get lucky, I think. No pun
Get
intended.
lucky. Okay, so that's interesting, right? Because that's one of the dominant cultural stories that's told, is that a man should not or does not know how to make happen what his biology compels him to need and desire. We have a genetic imperative. We have a sexual imperative. Those who live longer, excuse me, those who have more sex live longer, happier, healthier lives. Real simple. Now, Daniel J. Amen, the neuroscientist from Love on the Brain, great book. I don't know if he's talking, I think he's talking about interpersonal sex, if I recall correctly. I haven't had a copy of that book in a little while, but I remembered that statistic. And I think I used it when I was dating, well, I'll leave her name in the silence, but in college, after we broke up, we had like a friends with benefits thing. And I was like, by the way, did you know? And then there was some other detail from that book. He said, well, is your partner like feeling bad because of like menstruation? Well, sex can help with menstrual cramps. So that was something else I used with her that really worked because I was horny and she was like, but I'm bleeding. And I'm like, well, I can help.
Oh,
Anyway, what are we talking about? We're
oh,
talking about a movie.
jeez.
We're talking about a movie.
Yeah.
So okay,
But
let's
it's okay because your course and this movie seem to intersect in ways that are interesting and light up your brain space in ways that I haven't really too often seen with other movies that we talk about.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you
Yeah,
have experiences you want to share, it's important. I
there's
think it's relevant. You
there's a
should.
unique thread here. there's a truly unique opportunity, which is why I'm glad you're able to dance with the hilarity, but also bring the seriousness. Because like sexual politics is a real thing.
Yes.
Evolutionary
Hmm.
biology is a real thing. So, let's talk about the movie and then we'll unpack the greater themes, right? So, uh, I think Joyce is already sleeping with Donovan by the beginning of the film because you can see she's like touchy with
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
table.
She's like, nah, this guy right here, who I've clearly seen naked.
And he's
Yeah.
like competing with Roger. He's like witty banter back, trying to make jokes to one up Roger's like intellectual soliloquy.
Yeah. He doesn't know. Yeah. Roger doesn't know that Donovan is winning.
He does
He's
not,
just
but it's
kind of
right
like,
there.
he's stopping and he's observing and trying to think something's happening here. I don't know what yet. Because he takes
I,
a long pause with each with each response.
yeah, I don't read it that way, though. I could see maybe how you might, how one might. I'm not saying you see a six, I see a nine, right? It's all good.
That's
Concerning
why
Joyce,
we're co-hosts.
that's why we're co-hosts. So anyway, um, I think he's just oblivious. I think he's so arrogant and full of himself at that point and obsessed with like impressing this other woman and
Yeah,
whatever else he's doing.
the
Yeah.
later dialogue he has with like his response to Joyce's ending their arrangement really does, but it belies that he believe nothing else is going on. It's just me and her.
So let's talk about her. Let's talk about her, right? So
Great
he
actress.
he thinks that acquiring sex with his boss was his doing. It was not. It was
Mm-mm.
it was partially maybe like because he was receptive, but I think what happened, and we don't know this from the text, but I think she hit on him as a function of her desire and her power over him. And then she got bored. We don't know why she's wanted to end the thing, but or maybe she didn't want the fallout of the sexual politics of her being an authority and being able to abuse that authority by using it with the men, right? And this is what one of the things that makes the film truly interesting is usually when you think about about abuse of power for the sake of sex, you think of a man in a position of power, usually a politician actually, right? Or like a musician or whatever, and they've got groupies, right? Or some shit like that. But in this case, it's a woman who's using her power. And so he doesn't see this. His interpretations of what's going on in the world of dating and relating and sex blind him. And so he's hit across the face. Like he's knocked down as if it were a boxing match. Like he's knocked down. And he also doesn't know himself. He's not aware. So when he says, "Can I stay the night?" You and I, the viewers, or those listening, probably can tell that he's seeking emotional depth and intimacy. He wants someone who cares enough to let him cuddle her for the rest of the night after they make love, after they have sex. But he can't admit it to himself. And why? Why is the question? Fundamentally, he's suffering from emotional trauma. I think his mom didn't give him the attention he needed. I think his mom was avoidant attached. And I think this has led him to become what's known in attachment theory as anxious attached. Like oh, I need to do something. I need to lean in. I need to make the connection happen. But he's so bitter and resentful and hurt that how does he actually so purely from a structural standpoint in social dynamics is fascinating because he uses negs like which is to take a woman down a peg by vaguely insulting her so that she's leaning in to get validation. He uses pacing and leading, so he illustrates his authority and understanding of the woman in front of him by saying, "Here's what I know about you," and she takes notice and is like, "Really?" You can see this with the woman who like is about to get married to the fiance. You can see this with what's her name from Firefly? Exquisitely
Yeah,
beautiful.
Marina Baccarin's character. She walks up. She's just getting a drink, and then he goes into a spiel. Swanson
Yeah.
just starts, yeah.
And it's silly. It's silly that he's using negs, pacing, and leading and authority almost exclusively. Like he envies the modicum of happiness that people around him have. And he's got a good point that some of these people are unhappy because they're buying a lie. Like this woman, Morena Baccarin's character probably is being abused in by the power structure that she's in with this guy in the office who's just adding another trophy to his collection. Probably. Probably. It looks like that might be going on. We don't have enough evidence to say for sure. And he envies her happiness inside the illusion, inside the delusion. He envies the happiness of this woman who's about to get married. I still remember the quote as he's being thrown out. Oh, I weep for her. I weep for her. You know, he doesn't actually, he doesn't care. He, he's
He doesn't
using
care.
everyone.
He says, what's the simple phrase that just explains his character completely? When Jesse Eisenberg's Nick later on said, "But you said that you get laid every night." And he's like, "I say a lot of things."
Now, I think
Not necessarily true, but
there's evidence from the text to suggest he does get laid, and more than just through power brokering by accident from a boss that wants to use him.
yeah, because he's reasonably charming when he's not like fully leaning into
He's intriguing.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's intriguing. But yeah, he takes his viewpoint too far. He negs them, like you said, and he just doesn't. It's almost as if he wants to make it fail, so that he can see if he can win them back as a result. I've seen this happen with comedians. Like they want to make the audience hate them so much that
Yeah.
they come back with their jokes and the material actually works and wins them back over.
So it's like
Jim Carrey did that a lot, but yeah.
he's creating a game that he fails so that he has to win again. And by the way, that's intrinsic to the vicious cycle of you get somebody who's anxious attached, who's like leaning in too much, who wants more attention, connection, and communication, and then someone who's avoidant attached who wants less. They want more self-sufficiency, independence, space. And so the anxious attached triggers the avoidant attached to run away. And so what's familiar and comfortable, i.e., survivable for someone who's anxious attached, is like a situation where they're always chasing. So of course he's gonna create an emotional intimacy situation with someone who's fundamentally unavailable. His boss, right? This can never work. He must have known that from the beginning. And so now she's let go of him, and now he's got to win her back. And you see throughout the film, he's like, "Well, I'm her boy. I'm her boy. I gotta."
Scott just
Oh,
waves
by
her
the way, by the way,
garments in the air.
I think
Yeah.
he steals her panties because he's trying to prove that he was loved. This is from experience in the past. I wrote books to try
Yeah.
that I was loved when I was feeling
Yeah.
unloved later on. And it's a trophy. So I've been watching Dexter Original Sin, and there's this moment where Dexter he puts blood, between two slides, and he's looking at it and he's like, huh. Like it's like the moment where he figures out that he wants those to be his trophies. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
So between that and this, I'm like, there's almost he's not as nefarious or malicious as a serial killer, but to have a trophy just like serial killers collect, or the player that he mentioned earlier that he's poking fun at, this player who's collecting it's like, and this is what the seduction community so called, this is what pickup artistry and a lot of men's work, circa 1980s, with the evolution of neurolinguistic programming to try to basically conversationally hypnotize women to activate sexual states, through the work of like Neil Strauss. I wouldn't say Neil Strauss himself, but the stuff you see in the game. Did you ever read the game?
Neil Strauss. No, I did not.
Dude,
So
you
you're gonna
should
have
read it.
to.
It's really entertaining. It'll show you how fucked up certain subcultures are.
Oh, I could just look at the world and tell that. No, no, you really want me to read this to
Hey, by
reiterate
the
all
way, I
that?
like this. This is really working. Like this whole like actually being on camera thing, and I think like
Yeah, because you gesticulate a lot, and now I think it is absolutely necessary to every episode that we ever do ever for the rest of our lives. So I can't help but keep looking at my camera to see if my face doesn't look stupid every time I say something.
Oh, I
Tyler
thought you were
Addison,
looking at the
badass
camera to
Brandmeyer.
like
Thanks for
play to the
changing my name.
audience. I thought you're playing to the audience. Okay, that's fine.
No, it's more narcissism involved than you think.
I fixed your name, by the way. So
I
let's
see you put badass after Addison. Now I have
yeah.
no middle names.
Now, so I really relate to both of these characters. Roger, And what was the kid's name?
Nick. Yeah,
Nick.
Jesse
Yeah.
Eisenberg's Nick. 16-year-old Nick.
So, so many phrases that I've used throughout my past several years come from this movie. Words are my stock in trade. That's my life. Like I teach, I coach, I write, I read, I think, I speak. Um, and then he talks about an opening salvo. You can guess where our Clever Orbit's opening salvo came from.
Uh,
So that's the thing. Yeah.
funny, a funny award-winning comedy drama film, Roger Dodger.
I don't, is it award winning? Did it win awards?
I don't know, none that we're familiar with.
Let's win it. Let's award it an award so that your sentence
Okay,
will make more
I was
sense.
familiar with the Gothams, those, yeah, but National Board of Review Award.
Okay, great, great.
It won a NBRA.
Anibra.
Good.
So, okay. This is back when indie films were really good. Not to say they've gotten bad, but just like there was this period in the early aughts when you could pick up an indie
It's
film and you
but
knew it would be really, really like interesting. Um,
yeah, before the Netflix effect had its way, and a
the
lot
Netflix
of
effect is
low
worse
budget
than the
films.
Mandela effect. Um, inserting. Okay, so Roger, right, is this guy who thinks he knows it all, right? And I know more than most people, personally, but um, I don't actually know it all. And part of the thing in coaching is your Dumbo's feather. Did you ever see a Dumbo, the movie?
Yes, and I have been reminded of that because of the size of my ears growing up over the last 3 decades.
All right. Well, that's not where we wanted to go with that, but thank you for sharing.
No, it's not. Now I'm gonna mute my video so I can cry.
Just kidding.
And audio.
And your audio. Okay, which gives me time to talk about what the fuck I was actually going to talk about. Dumbo believes he needs this feather to fly. And then later on in the film, he realizes, oh, wait, I don't have the feather. How am I going to fly? I need to fly to save my people. I need to do my, like, be the contribution I'm here to be. And he realizes, oh, wait, it was the feather. It was my faith in the feather that enabled me to fly. I don't need the feather. And so he flies because of the faith. So for me as a coach, I've learned to have faith in that everything is possible. And I've experienced and observed it. Autistic kids around me who've never had sex or had a relationship, suddenly they're now having their first makeout, having their first relationship. Men who are like suffering from not having as much sex as they want in their marriage, like all right, now they're having sex or not getting the dates that they want or so there's a certain range and realm of things that I have an embodied experience of faith in. But the tricky part is in the world of coaching or where Roger is coming from, when someone overemphasizes the faith that someone should have in them beyond what is due to them. Does this make sense?
Hmm.
Because faith can achieve
Yeah.
all kinds of things. And faith is imagination focused on a desirable outcome. So if I put faith in that this guy can help me have sex, right? Or this guy can help me date. If you can truly create that perception, that perspective, that context, that frame, then even somebody who doesn't know shit can tell you something and it may work for you. Ideally, it's someone who knows shit. Ideally, it's someone even who knows the most shit or the best shit, right? And so to be a good coach means to always be going from good, like where am I competent, reaching for mastery. And I'm on that path. Like I'm in that game. And that's why I recommend my people watch this film because it's a great place to learn some actual social dynamics, what not to do, and then the subtleties of the dance between the head and the heart, between our trauma and our capacity for innocence, also known as in no sense, because it's the nervous system through stories and reactive patterns that seeks to make a certain kind of sense of the world and then restricts us through that matrix of sense of interpretation. So going back to in no sense means returning to that place where what if you could love the way you did before you were ever hurt? What if you could be in relationship and have all the intimacy you ever wanted without having to play this game of casually trying to take it under the camouflage of casual sex, which I think most people are doing when they're having casual sex. I think most people, when they are practicing something like polyamory, they are not. Um, most people's sexual needs, quote unquote, are the result of unmet emotional and spiritual needs. And
I would
so
agree.
imagine this, right? I my body craves real nutrition, like carbohydrates and protein and whatever, and I eat fucking fast food. It sure as shit tastes like I'm getting something, but guess what? I'm not. I'm not. Eventually I'm going to get hungry or sick or tired or whatever. So people are using casual sex as fast food. Does this mean that I stop craving sex? Well, we do the wrong thing so long, the right thing feels wrong. So for a year, I've been sitting on my hands, with a few exceptions, um, not allowing myself to just recklessly pursue whatever casual sex comes along. Now, there are moments, though, there are moments when I'm just like, man, it'd be great. It'd be great. I would just love to express, and I'm not going to judge anyone for doing that, for seeking to meet sexual needs. Um, because for example, we've got a Wernicke-Broca loop in the brain, right? Are you familiar with this neuroscience a little bit? It
No,
understands.
Wernicke broke his area. The speech, yeah, speech production and speech, yeah,
Yeah, go team. No,
speech deciphering, whatever you call it.
the fact that we're able to do thinking on our own, like introspection, it's a derivative function. We're meant to speak and connect and engage with other people. The thinking is, it's like lesser. Just like for me, I don't know that masturbation, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's lesser, but I would go as far as to say that it's derivative. Like the fact that we can do it is because we have the equipment to have interpersonal sex. So sex is meant at its ideal expression to be an interpersonal phenomenon. Hence the problem that this movie confronts, which is like, well, how do we get it as men? And under what conditions is it smart, wise, healthy, or aligned for us to seek it?
Yeah.
Go
A
ahead.
lot of
Yeah.
a lot of wrong examples in this film. Like there's a lot of what not to do.
Escalatingly terrible bad examples. And I love it. It
Examples.
like goes all the
Yes.
way into the pit before it stops.
Yeah,
Um,
it starts with just, all right, these girls, we're meeting them in this booth in a bar and we're just talking.
yeah.
And then it gets to a point where it's like, Nick, all right, here's your next opportunity. Try to have sex with this drunk woman who's clearly too drunk to have, you know, any kind of defenses whatsoever,
Let's
which
talk
Nick
about this.
responds the correct way. And then later on, it's a prostitute,
Yep.
which Nick, like, Roger even he has so many reservations with the idea post giving Nick his blessing in order to do it that he just pulls him out of the booth with her.
Yep.
His doubt is so great, and his, I would say, self-loathing. He just
Oh,
realizes, what have I done? This is a big mistake. He's a
yeah, yeah,
kid.
yeah, yeah. Which is the bright spot of the film is his slight redemption arc, in my estimation, because like he he attempts to set right what once went wrong, namely the
Yes, Sam Beckett.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, quantum leap, right? I had to. So the opposite
Love
of
it.
innocence is like overcoding, right? So Roger's trauma has a certain overcoding of the world, and he smokes, he drinks. Smoking, in my training, is because people know they're fucking damaging their body and their lungs, and they're damaging their capacity to receive the inspiration that life is, prana, life force energy, coming from and through air into your body and your nervous system and your subtle bodies. So like anybody who's smoking, and this is not a judgment on you, this is a discernment. If somebody hears this and is like, oh, I smoke, fuck you for talking about my smoking. No, judgment is making something or someone wrong. Discernment is what works or doesn't work given what you're committed to. I discern based on training and observation and dating somebody who had her fucking boyfriend died as a holistic medical doctor, that smoking is a death wish. So Roger's trauma is so deep and so dark, and his first experience of sex was so dissatisfying. Incidentally, he like avoids the topic. I think that's a sign that he's like not only not wanting to talk about it, but it's like
That
he
was either dissatisfying or traumatizing or under really horrific circumstances, or
yeah.
he did
So
something he's ashamed of.
so how it goes is he's got this overcoating from mommy and daddy. He didn't get what he needed.
Hmm.
Had bad
Yeah.
sex. initially, and then women have not been treating him respectfully. He attracted the experience of not being treated respectfully by his boss, and now he walks up and says, "Hey, I can teach you how to have sex," but he can barely see the world as it is. And then, luckily Nick survives the situation because Nick becomes a pawn
Yeah.
in Roger's game of feeling good enough and proving that he's good enough using women and other people to do it. And this is where most men are coming from, especially when they pick up the social dynamics and the pickup artistry stuff. They're like, let me get good enough and prove it by having a trophy wife or a lot of sex that I can show off to my mates, my male friends in the fraternity or whatever. And like, I'm not saying it's impossible for someone to have casual or primarily physically nourishing sex and not be coming from trauma. I'm just saying more than likely that's not what's going on for most people.
We all have a lot of problems. It's the
Cancel
few and
culture.
far between, the exceptions to the rule, who are just so healthy that they can connect, disconnect, and still be better for the experience.
I don't know that they're actually doing that. I think casual sex may be an avoidant. So okay, there's activation and deactivation strategies. Remember the anxious and avoidant dance,
Being
right? The avoidant's
attached, yeah.
always avoiding and the anxious is always wanting more. So the avoidant attached person, they always have what's known or often have what's known as a phantom X, right? So someone who they talk to that enables them to deactivate when the intensity of the threat of intimacy gets too strong because for them, for an avoidant attached person, they are so afraid that they'll get abandoned again, like their mommy and daddy did, that when they feel intimacy in their nervous system, they're like, let me reach out for something that enables me to relieve that stress and strain on my nervous system. So, for somebody to have casual sex, if they're avoidant and they think that they're not able to get the love that they need or their emotional needs met, they may be having sex in order to deactivate their felt need for intimacy, paradoxically by giving themselves the experience of intimacy, but without real commitment, without real depth, without real like complete open heart. And so when you say, all right, there are people who might be healthy enough, it's true. And for most people, they're not really healthy. And then they end up in situationships. They end up confused. A friends with benefits situation suddenly morphs into like, well, I guess we're together. I have sex with this girl in college, and she says, I only have intercourse with somebody if they're my boyfriend, and she's poly, and so we're fooling around, and then she sticks it in, and then the next day she's like, oh, you're my boyfriend now. And I'm like, what? That's not how the force works. Like
What an analogy.
I
Um,
tie into this, but go ahead. I've said a lot.
you have, but I want to hear more because I'm learning the more you speak. And
Hmm.
I've learned that things happen and I learn more the more I shut the hell or the fuck up.
I like that you've got two gears there. I'm curious what the distinction is.
Okay, shut the fuck up's more aggressive. Shut the hell up is more like, come on, man, I'm trying to get through to you. Shut the fuck up is like, I don't like you.
All right. So let's talk about the bright spot of the brightest spot of the film is when Sophie says to Nick, "We need more men like you." And I believe we truly do. Men who are, because life is an 18-inch journey from the head through the emotions to the heart. Most people are emotionally constipated. They're walking around holding on to the shits they haven't taken and the feelings they haven't felt through and allowed up and out yet. And so to take that journey, he's still in his heart. He's 16. The world has not chewed him up, spit him out, barely digested, right? Like with Roger, which makes for a really interesting metaphor. I didn't mean for that to happen, but Roger's it's like he came out of the Sarlacc pit, like half
I'm out of
digested.
Sarlat, yeah, with a cigarette in his mouth, and was like, I need to have an orgasm now.
He's like
That's too
grumpy and
many teeth.
oh,
Too many teeth.
too many teeth. Yeah, yeah.
Too many
So,
slime.
so that
Not the good
there's
one. I need to.
and paradoxically at the same time, I would say there's nothing wrong with Nick jerking off to Sophie, right? Like because
I
that
mean, yeah, but mentioning it in the moment is kind of all right. This is a different way of looking at it, and now we know. It's like hotel rooms. It's like, yeah, I know things happen in here. It's one thing to hear, but it's one thing to just vaguely know, but it's another thing to see them happening.
Well, so you'll notice it's I wouldn't say it's every time, but it's a lot of the times when Roger sees someone like enjoying themselves in their life, like they have a quantum of happiness, he has to stab it. He has to pop it like a souffle. Like he has to destroy it. So he
He
sees
does. His
that Nick,
I see that sort of with his conversation with Joyce Roger and the others in the beginning of the film.
yeah.
It's almost like when Donovan has his playful banter and he's just sitting there staring, it's almost like, how can I destroy this happiness? Processing, processing, processing.
And the fucking trouble with Roger is he's right enough to where people should listen to what he has to say because he's embittered, he's emboldened, he's empowered to a certain degree. And when he says things like traditional male roles are being tossed aside, our culture seems designed to emasculate and infantilize. This is true as
Deluxe.
fuck. Telling children with penises, hey, you have every right to be confused and to cut your dick off. Like, no, that's violating biological genetic destiny and it will mess up your psychology and your hormone balance and your fulfillment in life. Now, I'm not telling individuals what to do, but I am telling everybody to check yourself. Like, if you can tell me, if somebody who wants to transition to another gender can tell me that they have no trauma whatsoever. They're completely blissed out and fulfilled with their relationship with the opposite sex. Then okay, fine. But if they have even 1 centimeter of trauma or pain in their nervous system, then their behavior is being biased by that trauma. And perhaps they are harming themselves. So when he says traditional male roles are being tossed aside, most men are walking around confused now these days. They don't have a role model to look up to. Because biology, biodestiny is one thing, genetic code. Being able to fit into a role as a gender, right? Sex and gender are technically 2 different things. And so men are like confused. Nick comes to his uncle to figure out how to have sex, not his dad. His dad's been ostracized from the family. So I know I'm saying controversial things, but it's worth having the conversation, right? And I
No,
have
no, I agree because I was going to say, as far as your views on how gender and trauma intertwine in through how people transition when they feel like, oh, I don't feel like I'd live happily as a boy. I feel like I would be more fulfilled and I would feel happier if I were a woman, if I were to undergo procedures to turn myself into biologically a woman, then it's like I've always had the thought like if that's what you want to do to be happy, I will encourage it and I will be your number one cheerleader. But
yeah.
as far as trauma goes, like I feel like if you want to do that at the same time as confront your trauma, like that'd be even better.
That'd be
It's
better. So
almost like there's no
you're not
wrong
all the way.
answer in my eyes. There's just a healthier answer.
Yeah, for me, it's like my perspective after 15 years of doing trauma work and release and healing and nervous system upgrades and whatnot is like I don't choose to have a kid until this thing is the way that it's meant to be because we pass it from father to son, from parent to child. And
Yeah,
so
generational stuff. Yeah.
more than likely, if somebody is that confused about their gender, look at what was going on with their parents. Did their parents give them a clear example? Is part of it. And I didn't mean for this podcast to become about this particular topic. I mean, it's the point is we'll come back to the point, right? Somebody can come fight me in the comments about all this trans stuff, whatever. It's fine. I'm open to that because I'm not judging anyone for making that transition or choosing that. I'm asking them to, in the same way that I'm asking people about casual sex or polyamory, why are you choosing it? Is it actually going to support you? Like, can you trust that what you're doing in having a one night stand isn't ultimately harming you or them emotionally? And then we look at the spiritual level, and I'm not a diehard dogmatic Christian. There's 50,000 different denominations. I wouldn't even know which one to choose at this point. But I will say that the more spiritual healing work I've done, like release of soul fragments deposited in the subtle bodies by your former partner, like the more free I've felt. And like cord cutting and all this other energetic that might initially sound like metaphysical nonsense, new age woo-woo bullshit. Like, no, I feel different. And whether it's placebo effect or something else, like I've seen too much to think that it's just made up bullshit. And I've manifested too much. I've created increasingly higher quality relationship partners. There was that 4 times in the past 6 years or so. And that's my stand is that any man who wants sex and intimacy can have it within 3 weeks to a couple months. And if you want help with that, comment below. I can send you a video. But let's
You
go
really
back to
can. He's very good at this. Please give him a chance.
says says my biological family. I mean, we'll have some testimonial videos for you to check out. But thank you for
No
voting.
bias whatsoever.
So okay, the species is not static. We're in a constant state of flux, Roger also says. This is possibly true. And he's talking about evolutionary psychological sexual politics. But he's in such a nihilistic place due to his own trauma already, emotionally, that I doubt he's ultimately trustworthy. Nietzsche famously wrote, he said, every philosopher's philosophy is just it's their psychology writ large. It's like the blossoming of their overcoding of the world from trauma. Now Nietzsche had his own trauma.
Of course.
So like it's difficult to piece together what he offered was actually best useful. And then you see Heidegger and or the Nazis using his stuff later on, mispurposing it, misusing it in my estimation. But yeah, so there's anyway, I think he's right to the degree to say that we're in a constant state of flux. I think he's wrong about women will eventually develop telekinetic powers. They can move things with the power of his mind. Did you see that?
That was him just that was exaggeration for gross hyperbole at that point, I think.
It
But
was
he
stupid.
might
When I
not
was
he might
listening,
not have been joking. I don't know.
I was listening to it for the third time, at like the third time in the past month, and I was like, wait a second, he just casually slips that in there, and it's like, no, that's a stupid assumption. But he's a copywriter, right? He writes advertisements to basically neg people into making them feel bad about themselves, so they'll buy whatever shit he's peddling at the time.
So he either turned what he was, yeah. So he took his trauma and he turned it into a financial gold mine.
He
He
did,
thinks he's good at it. He knows what he's good at.
which is wonderful
And
because
then,
he did the
yeah,
best that he could with a bad situation and a nervous system that didn't know what to do with all the pain it was feeling. So I empathize with him.
it's the human condition. Yep.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. He's in pain because of what mommy didn't give him. So he's seeking it through woman after woman, but he'll never get it because the very nature of the chess game that he's playing leaves him out. He can't ever open his heart to receive. Interestingly enough, in sacred body language translations, we're able to interpret the meaning of touches, illnesses, scratches and itches, injuries. The heart is on the left side of the body. It's not on the left and the right. It's on the left side, which is the feminine or the receiving side. Love, we're meant to give love, but we're meant to receive love first from our parents, from our spiritual connection. So if that's blocked, then someone still feels the weight and the intensity of that need, but it contaminates other needs like sexuality. And so he's never emotionally available in that he's playing an avoidant attached chess game, meaning he's like, all right, I'll never let this person in, but I'll figure out how to get what I need from them, how to take what I need in the moment, just enough to where I don't have to be hurt by them again. Is this making sense?
It's making sense. And I'm imagining like a dynamic between two feral animals that you just, the way your attachment styles are physically represented with your hands, like the way one pecks at it. I'm like, that's the crow. I don't know which animal this is, but it's clearly trying to get without being touched.
It's the puppy. It's actually, you might think of it as like a puppy and a cat. The puppy's like, hey, 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 I love you. Do you love
Oh,
me?
the
I
cat's
want to give
just
you love.
hitting him. Yeah, just like get away, get away.
And the
I don't like
the
that.
cat is like,
I
leave me
just
the
hit my
fuck
mic.
alone.
Sorry.
Yeah, the cat is like, no, that was me, actually. I think I hit a button. But the cat's like, leave me the fuck alone. So, I mean, and that's how cats are in general, if you've ever met a cat.
Yeah,
Um,
have you ever met a cat? Anybody? Comment below.
by the way, I love the editing when the people disappear from the booth, Marina Baccarin. Later on, you remember that shot where you can see them and she's flirting with the office guy and
And
it's from
then gone.
Roger's perspective and then
Yeah.
gone. Yeah. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool.
Because he's now in winning time. He's waiting for the very last, like the desperate, the lonely, the hungry, quote unquote.
The
I'm
easy.
paraphrasing part of that. I know for sure. The easy. Yes.
Now, can I tell you something?
You can tell me anything.
So there's this situation that is really ethically questionable later on, right? Where Nick is brought to the party and so the fact of the matter is men go for drunk girls all the time because their sexual inhibitions are down, their cultural programming is weakened, they're available to embrace their physical nature as mammals in a way that is not otherwise available. Women don't have sex in public because they don't want to be slut shamed. So I also stand for women's right to enjoy pleasure. Like that's great. Let them have all the sex they want. And I never felt right with or had the heart to pursue drunk girls in college, personally. You would see fraternity guys, right? Like, oh yeah, yeah, she's hot. Come on with me. I'm like, that's like on a spectrum leading to rape. And Nick, wisely, he's like, he can tell that the girl in bed, I forget her name. Do we know her name? I don't know. The like secretary or whatever from the office.
Yeah, this is terrible that I can't remember her name. Maybe
Well,
it's just
especially in
because of
this
how often she
context,
shows
right? It,
up.
it would really make
Is
us
it
think.
Donna?
I think
Or
it's Donna.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's it.
Donna.
That's it. It's Donna.
Yeah.
So he knows that she's sad and
Thanks,
desperate for
Wikipedia.
attention. She's sad and desperate for attention, and he does the honorable thing. He puts her down, he gets her comfortable, and he
Puts
walks.
the covers on her, makes her comfortable so that she can sleep off her drunken state. Yeah.
So casual sex for most people is a co-conspiracy of trying to pretend we're meeting emotional needs at the same time as meeting physical needs. So there's a whole conversation where we do seem to have physical needs too, that are not entirely overcoded by unmet emotional or spiritual needs. But what would it look like for someone to not be contaminated in that way with that need? Well, they'd have to meet their emotional and spiritual needs first. And many people don't. Most people don't. I don't know many people who have. Uh, uh, I'm even questioning whether or not the most successful entrepreneurs and or spiritually enlightened people who I know, whether or not they've actually fully met. Because I don't think the ultimate in sexuality looks like celibacy or abstinence. I think it looks like a give and receive, an actual exchange interpersonally. And do you want to know? Judy Dutton in the book How We Do It, she talks about how many sexual partners is the ideal per person. You want to know how many it is? You want to guess?
Less than 10, right?
No, it's one. It's just one at a time.
No, I was right. Don't downplay the answer I gave as completely wrong.
Okay, you were partially right. You were on the way to right. You just kind of it's like
Just
it's
had
like
to I had to go down to the not the many, the one. Yes.
you were on your way from Atlanta to Miami and you stopped the moment you got to Florida. Yeah.
I was like, Miami's here.
All
It's within this line, this giant
right.
stick-shaped line, this peninsula.
Big-shaped lines. All right. So
Oops, I'm stop not trying to say dick. Go ahead. I just said it.
what else have we not talked about in this movie? There's a lot. Um the
There are a
authority
few
without empathy.
things.
Go ahead.
Authority without empathy. Is that what you said?
Occurs as dangerous arrogance. That's Roger. He's got authority, but he doesn't
Hmm.
have empathy. He doesn't have empathy. So he's like the inverse of an empath. He doesn't feel his own feelings. So he's immune to caring about other people's feelings. Or he only knows them or dances with them enough to get what he wants from them. And yeah, so this is a strong caveat, this whole podcast. Like, check yourself before you have a casual sex one night stand, motherfucker. Um,
Why do you sound like Michael Scott trying to sound like he's doing prison things?
I think he's trying to do a Dokes impression actually, because I've been watching The Office a lot today. I,
Yeah, but that came before Dexter.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I I can play Michael Scott playing something new. Okay,
I can pretend time isn't linear.
so let's talk about Roger's framing of sex. Um, there's a lot, right? He is wise when he says sex is everywhere. Attune yourself to it, bring yourself into alignment, a whole world will open up. Absolutely, that's true. And for a confused, struggling kid, like that's really useful. And then he says, you know, women don't know shit. They don't know shit. He's clearly a chauvinist at that point because women know. You know what I figured out recently at my
Yeah,
meetups?
it's proven, it's provably true throughout any interaction he has. It's provably true. But yeah, go ahead. What'd you figure out?
I figured out and I discerned this because my sensitivity has gotten stronger and I haven't been out there what we call enchanting and make love easy. Enchanting is talking to women with the intention of like getting a number, a date, whatever's aligned, from a heart-centered space, like from compassion and empathy. So we were at this Enchanters meetup, and it was funny. I was walking downtown Sixth Street, and I had broken my word with something with my accountability coach at the time. So my what's called an at stake, which was like a consequence for breaking my word, was I had to walk up to 20 women and use a stupid pickup line. Now I know how to do much better than that. I know how to do so much better than a stupid pickup line, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna walk up to each woman and say, "Hey, are you Jamaican?" Because you're making me crazy. And that's it. I can't say any of the clever stuff I know to say afterwards. And so I felt like a fucking Pokemon because and I felt like I was trapped in hell. All I could repeat with these few words. And it eventually became a joke and it eventually worked. And I kissed a girl on the cheek and got her number. It was really cool. So I managed to find effectiveness in the face of my limitation. It was like I had a handicap in golf or something. Or wait, handicap's something different. But you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
I
You
had
were
an
in a
actual
wheelchair, but you
handicap.
learned to no, but you learned to pop a wheelie and go up those steps like a champ
Yeah, so the thing that I
instead of
figured
dealing
out
with
that night,
ramps that no one bothered to put in for you. All right, go ahead. This is
thing I
turning
figured
into
out
a
that night is that women know energetically when you are looking at them. They can feel it. Now,
Mhm.
whether they know consciously that they can feel it, that's determined by how clear their mind is and how much resistance has been released and how open and regulated their nervous system is. Because women are highly intuitive. They have more gray matter, a thicker corpus callosum. They process body uh, language, tone of voice, and facial expression better than we do because they're meant to raise kids biologically. They're meant to be able to pick up on what their child is thinking, feeling, doing in a subtle, quick way without having to have verbal communication. So they know everything. They know exactly what we're trying to do when we're trying to pull something on them. Most of them, but then there's the traumatized ones who have, and most of us humans are traumatized, so it's like a matter of degree. But the more traumatized someone is, the less perceptual capacity they have. So, like, it was funny
Yeah.
because I would notice a woman and I'd be like, and then she would turn or whatever. I mean, like, I can't really do the experiment for yourself. Like, do the experiment. Go stare at and intend to talk to 20 women. And the moment that intention arises, oh, so
You can tell my attachment style for sure from that tiny 3-second exchange. All right.
I think we might both have had in the past anxious attachment. I think.
Probably still exhibiting qualities or characteristics of that
Well,
myself now.
so read
Yeah.
attached, read polysecure, you can heal it. It's fine. Or you can manage it. And then get
Yeah.
body electronics and you can remove the debris from your nervous system. It's like it's pretty simple. But and I'm in the process of doing that currently. Just because I know what to do doesn't mean I've done all the things. Is that a spider or a fly?
Yeah. Consistent work. I think it's a spy.
There's a because I'm outside. Excuse me, little buddy.
Louis, turn off all the recording equipment. I said the word spy.
All right.
You should
So
have registered that.
Roger says something that I love. He says, "It is our vocation to be ready." And I'm like, I feel that, man. I feel that. We're meant to have sex. We're meant to connect with women. We're meant to have a blast and great relationships and shit. Now in that particular context, he's like, you got to be ready to notice. And yeah, but and then he says, this is rocket science. You were smart to ask for help.
You were smart to ask for help. He has these little nuggets of just wisdom he shares that actually makes sense and means something to anybody and everyone.
Mixed
But
with
they're
trauma,
buried in all the other
bias,
stuff.
biased by trauma in a sea of bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my mentors says the devil will tell you 12 truths to slip in one lie. And this guy's more like four truths to slip in six lies. But it's fine.
It's like just a bunch of lies and an accidental truth, and then a bunch of accidental truth, and then yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you want to go back to that interesting double standard between young women and older men versus older women and younger men? Like, isn't that weird? Why is that? What is that about?
Because because men are taught from a young age to conquer and to sleep with as many women as possible because it makes them look better in terms of like for other men. And because they're all taught the same thing and they're all like, well, I got this many. I got laid this weekend. I got laid that weekend. I was with her. I was with her. I was with them. You know, it's like they're all programmed to think sex is a game and we have to win. We have to win at all times. And I have the gold trophy. No, you don't have the platinum. I have the platinum trophy. I got the platinum one because I slept with her. No one sleeps with her. It's like you're not
Probably a
taught
lot of
to
people sleep with her.
actually get that. It's not a trophy at all. It's just
Maybe, I don't know.
it's
I'm
just
not
it's
saying
just
anything
it's just
about
some
any particular
traumatized
woman, but hot
it's just some
women,
traumatized people that are trying to get through life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where we'll stand, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
but
conceiving it as a game. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you want to finish or?
I didn't have the deepest thing to say, but I did say, yeah, we're taught to feel that way and be that way. And then women are taught to get men's attention because a lot of women were like, you need to get a husband, you need to have a family, you need to be able to have kids, you need to prove that you're going to be a good wife someday. But I may be talking about a generation of yesteryear because today's generation in 2025, which I don't mean to, I was trying to make this evergreen, but this is being recorded in February
I love that you're
of
trying to make it evergreen.
2025.
It's really sweet.
It's no way to do that. Well, I don't know. People might look at these headphones and be like, those are developed like in 2016. You're not fooling anybody. All right. But
Potato sticks. Mm.
oh, they look so gooey,
They're not gooey.
but in a very solid consistency. What
It's like a French fry, but it's like, and it's slightly sticky. Anyway, okay.
does it look like candy?
They're
They're
kind of
candy.
somewhere on the way to the consistency of rock candy, but definitely not as hard. Okay. Conceiving,
Speaking of hard, let's go back to what we're talking about.
yes, conceiving of the mating game as a game is dangerous. He says, hit it out of the park or strike miserably. Because at that point, what's pretty easy. So if it's just a game of play between people, then that's fine. But a game of like proving yourself, it's based in ego. And then he reinforces this later on. He says, I choose to remember. I'm going through my notes here. Oh, yeah, Nick later on says, I'm so sorry I disappointed you. Notice that?
Yeah.
It's a game
Yeah,
where
he says that,
Nick is
but he
trying to get
doesn't.
validation from validation he didn't get from his own dad, from Roger, and Roger's trying to get validation from Nick. So they're both trying to rescue each other from a lack of felt significance. They're both heroing each other, and they're both the victim of their own trauma. But
Very few rom-coms decide to explore this
depth.
level of
Yeah.
trauma and intimacy and mental health when it comes
Is
to
this a
that
romantic
without saying the
comedy?
words.
Do you think this is a
What's
romantic
that?
comedy?
No, it's a comedy drama about a pickup artist. So I might have misspoke there.
No, no, it was just interesting. I was like, there's not enough romance.
Yeah, there's well, yeah, the little there is actually kind of sweet.
It is. I
Yeah.
loved it. So anyway, there's this frame of the game. Oh, and then the fail safe, right? The fail safe for if you don't win. Oh, and then he later on he says you're 0 for 1. The game frame
Mm.
messes with Nick's heart. And so Nick probably starts off thinking that he needs the attention of women
Hmm.
to a level or a degree that um he might not seek because of his trauma with his family. His mom's an alcoholic, his dad is gone. Um his grandpa seemed to be a good guy, but there's not
For
I
some reason, yeah, for some reason, Roger hates his guts.
the biggest mystery of this movie.
Mm, yeah, as we never find out what exactly caused the rift between those two people, even though it seems like he's considered to be fairly decent by every other member of the family that we've met so far.
So anyway, that was a little joke. I don't think he matters that much, but the
Just vague sense of person.
the other piece for this film, it was almost a moment of compassion for me. It was like I am deeply aware of my love for touch, like intimate touch, like nourishing
Mm.
touch from a woman, and I'm also vaguely deeply aware of my love for drinking. Strangely enough, even though most people who are drinking are
Same.
brief. What's that?
Yeah. Well, same, Lewis. It's in our genetic structure. We're both mostly Irish,
So our
and
bodies
that's not
crave.
nothing. We come from people that loved to drink. They adored drink. They probably fell in love with drinking harder than their romantic partners. So we're yeah, that's what we have in our blood, in our DNA.
Well,
So
maybe
and
someday,
things can be passed on in DNA that aren't exactly. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead. Yeah.
maybe someday when I've healed, when I've detoxified my liver enough.
I don't know well, it might still be there because love is a powerful thing.
Love
Yeah.
for alcohol.
For Lewis, I'm serious.
All right.
If we have alcoholic tendencies, it's kind of in our blood and we need to be aware of and careful with them.
So going back to the movie here, he writes she likes it in the pooper on the
With
on
the
the
lipstick, yeah. And
I
and Nick looks at that and is just like, I don't like him.
well, I don't think he doesn't like him. I think he's just confused.
He's
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 too
just
innocent
he's
to
just
understand.
he's like, well, he's thinking to himself, I don't like what he's doing.
I mean, we would hope.
Even though I feel like he could teach me some things. Something about what he's doing isn't right.
Exactly. So it demonstrates to me how ego driven everything is for Roger, like how everything's just this game for him. And I think what would really actually nourish him ultimately would be a healing path and then an actual relationship. Now, that would be a challenge for him, a supreme challenge. And he seems to be on the right path by the end of the film. So these panties that he used as a trophy, he wipes Nick's mouth with them and he throws them out the window.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, is there character development happening in that moment?
Is it
I'm going to help you by letting go of this trophy.
is it too subtle?
I'm going to help you and let go of this trophy. Too subtle? No, it's like in your face. What else does he use to wipe Nick's mouth with? He doesn't have anything else. Is it his tie? No, he's still wearing that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was the depths that he was about to sink to that had him turn as a character. And then he like I love when he shows up with the kids at the end and he's like telling them stuff like, I'd like to find out what we have in common, what kind of person you really are. Not some game, but like what would it look like? He learned from observing Nick with Sophie and Andrea or whatever. Yeah.
Andrea, yeah, Elizabeth Berkley's character. She was cool.
She was beautiful. They were both beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I love, and this is kind of where I've landed in my life is Roger with a heart because I know all this stuff. And I realize that my willingness to pick up so many of those tools came from pain, came from loneliness, came from horniness, came from not understanding women, came from this sexual politics where we didn't have a fucking role model. Sorry, Dad, I love you, but you just weren't there. In case he ever listens to this. And
Sorry, go ahead.
shouldn't you make the other sound? Make the other sound.
Oh,
Do
got
it.
this. There's a
Do it.
we have an inside joke where I
Do
keep
it.
playing the fail trumpet, the fail trombone, whatever it's called.
Come
All
on,
right, shut up.
please.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
Bum 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 bum. Wow.
That was worth the wait. I had to wait like 30 seconds for that, man. Fuck. So, okay.
I had to wait 30 seconds. Oh my God.
When I tell you to do the failed trumpet, you jump like a what is it he says? Like a volunteer fireman. You dress in
Ladies and
30 seconds.
yeah, like a volunteer fireman. Just he doesn't even use the hose. He doesn't use any equipment to put the fire out. He makes the fail trumpet sound at the fire. Hold on, I've got this. Boom, 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 boom.
I got two. I
It's
got
not
two.
helping. It's
That's
not
great.
helping. I need help.
Okay.
What?
So Nick was missing a father figure and he reached out for Roger. And then there's this whole conversation. There's so many distortions of what's available actually in the world of connection. Getting plenty of action, getting laid. Put in the time. What is it he also says in the game? I love this thing about putting in the time. Um, being horny versus putting in the time. Yeah, he's like, there's a big difference. You're not here facing the tortures of the damned, waiting until closing time.
The tortures of the damned.
What a great phrase.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm gonna quote that.
It was so entertaining. Hey, you want to know? So I'm quoting this regularly on my podcast. It's called the Let's Talk About Sex deck, and so we fill in the blanks on little with prompts, and it's like a connection game. So there's a prompt that says polyamory is, and there's a blank. So for the past couple of times I've been playing the game, when I get that card, I say polyamory is disease and danger wrapped in darkness and silence.
Darkness and silence. He's quoting the most maligned Trek film series, the new Trek, and that's the first one
Not
of the new Trek
maligned.
films, Star Trek One. Yeah,
Star Trek 2009. They didn't even put a one behind it, but it was good. I think that's one of the most beloved
I do like that
Star
quote.
Trek
Yeah,
films.
it is a quote. It's a good quote.
It's a great quote. McCoy, very grumpy. So anyway, okay.
It even distills his character perfectly. But no, we were talking about the other thing.
Yeah, so let's go back and talk about this natural selection conversation, right?
I gotta say, Lewis, after
Go ahead.
this nourishing like lesson that I've been absorbing through you this entire episode, it seems boring to go back to science fiction next time
Oh, well,
because
that's
I'm
that's our whole
learning.
purpose. It's a
We can
transformation.
definitely keep up with the idea that hey, we can still learn and then experience sci-fi with a show called Clever Orbits. Clever, you're clever. That's clever. Clever can mean many different things. Yeah.
So the whole idea is there's a movie and we're doing orbits that are eloquent and
I just
clever.
spit on my screen. Hold up. It was I had to wipe it because the spit was on your nose.
Speaking of the screen, I love the cinematography and camera work in this film. I love the moments where it's like out of focus. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's out of focus. It's very intimate and close up and sort of like nervous. Like the camera is anxious attached.
This podcast is really making me want to rewatch it. I can't wait till because we haven't really taken a stab yet at the lion's share of your notes. I'm excited to hear what you got. Um, but before
To
we
be
go to,
honest, I wanted to mostly hear you this episode.
all right,
I was not gonna take much of my notes into this discussion and use them. I wanted you to
all right,
fire at
let's do
will.
that. All right, well, I'll keep firing like a machine gun. Um, loss of inhibition is crucial to your
Is that what this
success.
is? All right. They're breaking. They're breaking in real time. Go ahead. Keep going.
Loss of inhibition is crucial to your success, he says. So he starts getting Nick drunk, right? Well, loss of inhibition is crucial to becoming emotionally desensitized to your own self-harm. That's what I would
Uh,
say. Now,
He forgot to say it that way. He forgot to say it that way for a
now there are
purpose.
also moments. So I tuned into my superconscious mind recently, right? And I was like really horny and I was like, man, all right, superconscious intuition, what would I need to do to just go? Because I really want to have great sex tonight. And I got the answer, like, because superconscious, there's a field of information. Anybody can tap into it at any time and receive like downloads on and guidance on best ways to create whatever it is you desire to create. So what I got was go down to 6th Street where all the people are drinking. And I was like, fuck no, I don't want that. But I mean, there's the answer. So we as a culture are so emotionally constipated and repressed that we have trouble feeling good on our own, generally speaking. Not me particularly, because I do yoga, meditation, breath work, all the things, but most people. So the place where people let themselves let loose and release their emotional inhibitions, the ones they've coded up, overcoding, and put in place just to survive, being in a job that they hate and a wife that they don't like and kids that they're annoyed by, right? Or life situations that are less than optimal. The only way that they can get out of that is to drink. So I don't judge, but
Hmm.
I discern
Yeah.
it also makes the situation complicated and unhelpful and non-optimal ways. Just like the camera gets out of focus. Somebody's standards suddenly get blurry. Beer goggles, somebody's self-respect suddenly, gets muddled and mangled. So there's this other thing also, internalizing the male gaze. You remember when she said that? I think it was the other one, not Sophie, but her friend.
Okay, Andrea.
Actually, it was Sophie. You're right. Sophie talked about the internalizing the male gaze. But then Andrea
Hmm.
puts on makeup in front of Nick and drops
And then
the straw.
he drops the straw first, and then as he's picking it up from under the table, he notices her feet. And then Andrea clocks that, and she's like, I, and like you were saying earlier, they know when you're looking. And she takes the straw very
Yeah, I love that
suggestively
scene.
and tucks it onto the floor and says, pick that up. Did you pick that up? Because I liked it when you looked at my feet, almost as if you were going to take off my heel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she's turned on by him, and I'm
I
totally
don't
okay
like
with
feet
it.
that much, so I don't know what they're talking about, but
I'm okay with it. Older women are more mature and wiser, even though they're probably like late 20s, early 30s at least. But
I don't know. I was talking about foot.
foot. Okay, so you're talking about foot stuff. Okay, fine. Um, you can have that one. We're gonna move on now. Um, this, this
Please.
is a forgetting place. This is a forgetting place. That's a bad sign, by the way. If somebody walks with you to a situation where they're helping you to generate more connection and they say, drink a bunch of alcohol so we can enter a forgetting place. What are you trying to forget, Buster? You're trying to forget that you hate
Yeah,
yourself most of the time and you're vomiting it out onto other people through neg.
because the answer's not good.
Yeah.
Trying to forget.
Now back to what I was saying. There's 8,000 hours, Dr. Timothy Perper, social scientist, spent sitting in singles bars observing men and women interacting. And he found out that women who were into men would put out subtle subconscious body language signals, or some of them appeared like they might have been conscious signals that the women were sending to let the man know that they were into him. And the men who picked up on these tended to have sex more, tended to leave more, or get a date or a number, whatever. So there's a book called Undercover Sex Signals. And so for a woman to primp her hair or put on makeup or like weather vane palm or bare her neck or her arms like or thrust her breast out, which is fairly obvious, or like she plays with her drink or she like sucks on a straw. Like there's all kinds of different
Hmm.
signals. So Andrea is giving him a
Hmm.
signal because she
Stop
likes
being so attractive, Liz.
Shut up. Shut up. Cancel clear.
Go ahead. Go
Nonverbal,
ahead.
cancel, clear, delete, delete, like windshield wiper. I
You're like,
innovated that.
Tyler, we're brothers. Can you maybe different direction?
Look this way. Yeah. So, you know, Roger, I also love this is really fucking clever. You know, the good cop, bad cop thing? He's playing
Yeah,
up.
yeah. He's like, no, no, stop. Turns around. This is my
No,
place.
stop, don't. I love that line reading. It's great. No, wait, stop, don't. Um, he's playing up and trying to seem to appear worse by contrast, so Nick will seem better. And Nick had a non-zero chance of going home with one of those women, or both of them even. That would have been an interesting film. But
Yeah, it would have been a different film for sure. Yeah.
ironically enough, I've inspired and supported other men to create, to some degree, threesomes in their own lives, but I haven't had one yet. It's a little sad. Cancel Claire. It's
I don't
not
know if it's sad
I'm
so much
hopeful.
as it's like not what you're looking for.
Hope springs eternal. No, I'm definitely looking for a threesome eventually with my wife and our sex bunny submissive. What is that face,
My
man?
wife and our bunny.
But not
Just let me
our
give let me give half a second of maybe possible bestiality before I go and take that
No,
idea
it's not a
out of your
bunny. I
head
didn't
and
say
throw
a
it
bunny
away.
rabbit. I didn't say
I
Bugs
know
Bunny. And
I
you're
know what bunny
imagining.
is supposed to mean. It's just funny for me to think that way.
All right. So even centering sex so dramatically as making it the center of a frame for a game, like Roger does,
Yeah.
might be the imposition of a failure and a misalignment on those listening. Like it's the result of a decay in our cultural capacity for emotional intimacy. And yet it's also sex is a way we cultivate and make meaning of existence. I remember so many times in college, nihilistic, godless, atheistic, sad, lonely, and then I would have sex with her or her. I'm not going to name names, but and I would feel meaningful again. I'd be like, this is an innate channel for cultivating the experience of feeling alive. So it's really interesting to be like super hyper sex positive and like casual in discussing it, but also not casual in having it anymore. Or at least practicing not being casual in having it anymore because my heart is too big. I have I, I I have a heart on that's too strong. It doesn't go down just because I'm having sex. And here's the pattern that I saw in past relationships. There was a series of past relationships where I was really horny. There was a woman who was willing, who was into me. She was leaning in towards me to some degree, and I knew. This is back in the days when I had studied the pickup artist stuff. There was always a moment viscerally when I felt and I could tell I could have her if I wanted her. And whether it was like my nervous system, so Neil Strauss in The Truth, which is a great book, he says, um, do I believe in love at first sight? He says, well, if someone sees you and the first thing they do is to fall completely madly in love with you, run the other direction because what's really going on is their trauma has found complementary trauma to lock into. Like, like you're you're about
They
to make
x-rayed
things
your
worse.
body and found, yeah, they found like trauma molecules. There's so many.
I don't know what that means. What the fuck are
They're
you
mostly around the heart. Jackpot.
You're making everyone sound like a serial killer now. It's not that bad. It's that
No,
unconsciously,
we're just all crazy and fun and
well,
silly.
unconsciously, yeah, exactly. We do the wrong thing so long, the right thing feels wrong,
The right thing feels wrong. Oh God, that the human condition. Yeah,
and the
exactly.
wrong thing feels right until we practice the right thing to where the wrong thing feels wrong, as it should. And amateurs practice until they get things right. Professionals practice until they no longer get things wrong anymore. Does that make sense? Isn't that cool? I think it's cool. So I'm practicing to be professionally world-class level alignment within my sexuality and my because we have a head, we have a heart, we have a cock. Most men are completely taken over by the hard on. They haven't opened up the possibility of a heart on, and then they're using their mind to get what they think they need for their sex. And it's this weird fucking chaotic shell game that men are playing with themselves and their own psychology. So it's tricky because what I help men to do primarily through the Becoming a Social Rock Star course is I help them to create dates and sex, help them to become social rock stars, right? And there's a whole conversation here for people. Maybe we'll come back.
Wherever, yeah, wherever it's appearing on the recorded screen. Look at that. It's impossible not to see. It's so white. Um, Yeah.
I immediately want to go buy more Thai food. Um, I knew
Thai food is delicious.
I should have gotten 2 meals. So Nick shows the power of authenticity and vulnerability so powerfully, so effectively, that it changes Roger's game. By the end of the film, Roger still is clever, right? I love the move that he makes at the end to get Angela to talk to them, the really pretty blonde girl at the end. And the fact that Nick has actually learned something that's giving him a fighting chance. And that he's like, show her how she makes you feel. That's just straight fucking vulnerability, man. That's not hiding. That's not playing a chess game. And
Yeah.
so,
That's authenticity. Yeah.
and authenticity works. And
Yes.
what I tell people is I can't teach you how to be you, but I can give you training wheels to practice being in your expression until you find your voice, at which point you now have the choice to be who you are rather than hiding out, holding back, camouflaging, withholding that most men do from fear of not of rejection or whatever else. Right. So he's on the right track, I think. Roger is by the end of the film. And let's see. So there's some uh, reviews that I enjoyed of this. It's a dialogue-driven character study. I forget who this is from. Focused on sexual psychology that has the approximate rhythms of a comedy, but is filled with so much acid that it's hard to say in good faith that it's funny. And that
Yeah,
film
I
made
couldn't.
was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. There was like 94% drama.
It's like a smiley, happy, like laughing face, but also in pain. Okay, so
Yeah, it's great. It's a great time. Everyone.
next
Like that. So yeah.
next review. Roger Dodger is a wallow in the depths of toxic masculinity. That is his primary reason for being. Okay, and then let's see. Roger's approach to courtship, and you can
Most true.
these
Yeah.
reviews, y'all, if you really like these comments. I forget exactly who they're from. Roger's approach to courtship is apparently to bully women into wanting to have sex and striking until he lucks his way into finding someone who doesn't immediately recoil from him. It's hard to say exactly what's motivating him. A desire to sexually humiliate the young boy out of boredom, the hope of weaponizing another man in the fight against the female sex, or maybe, and most horribly of all, the belief that this is actually how the world works. Oh, and he even says this later on. Most make people feel bad, then rush in with your product to fill the void. Women are just pawns in his game to try to feel better about himself, and he also cuts people down for the same reason. He asks Nick, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Because he suspects the answer, so that he can nag
Hmm.
being his fucking nephew. Not yet. Well, so there's another quote that was really funny. A couple quotes. We didn't. I missed a whole page of my notes, so we're going back. Thank you. Um,
That's okay. I got
he
quotes
creates
too.
a copy. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. Go ahead. You go ahead. I want to know more of what you think.
Oh man, honored.
This is
So,
precisely why after I saw this movie, I was like, we have to do this episode, and Lewis needs to talk for the majority of the time.
because I've obsessed with over this and practice and reading and study and research for 15 years or some shit. So the he creates
Oh,
copy and articles
yeah.
to make people feel bad about themselves by understanding them deeply and then, as we said, rushing in and sharing stuff. He's this casual, reckless, casually nihilistic chess player. He goes from that to allowing his heart to have some expression and impact on his choices and trying to make up for the damage he did on Nick. And interesting, Nick is an independent computer programmer and software engineer before it was popular, just like the men who I serve, right? They've got their heads, they've got their fingers on keyboards and their noses in books. And like they're not available for like social interaction in the way that even sort of the normal, if you look at the statistical bell curve of humans, like there's like the median where the most people fall. They're like on the outskirts of that bell curve. They don't have the same level of skills. So I have empathy for those men because they have every right to approach women and they have every right to be horny and to seek sex with a woman. just so long as they're emotionally aware of the consequences potentially, and they have every right to approach a woman for a number or a date or to flirt or whatever. And that's great. That's like we call it enchantment for a reason. And then we also have coming from the Wizard's Gate, which I guess my whole mythology now is making me sound like Gandalf or some shit, but the Wizard's Gate is when you're not making the future better than the now and you're not resisting how now is happening. So you're not trying to fix not getting laid. You're not trying to fix not being lucky. You're not trying to fix not having love. You're
You
accepting
described
all.
human civilization in 2025.
What's that?
You described most of human civilization in 2025.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's yeah, true. And I think we have the solution. So let's reestablish some boundaries. She says in the movie, which is funny.
Hmm.
So let's talk about the sexual politics
Because
here.
she completely demolished them, being the one who was exerting power over her employee by having a relationship. But by the way, does the same thing with Donovan.
Yep, yep, yep. And you see
Yeah,
after what
just
happens at the
to
party,
see.
after what happens at the party, she's trying to reassure Donovan.
Yeah, she walks up to him and she's like, just gives him the face and it's just kind of like,
So
I'm like, oh, brother, you don't know what you're in for. Um,
you're not. But she gets
uh,
to touch Roger as she's saying reestablish some boundaries, and she controls the frame and the meaning of their interaction, whereas he does not. It's an interesting power move. And he wants something that he can't have. He not only wants sex, but he wants emotional connection. And so he's a con man who has conned himself into believing in his own press, like the stuff that he's thought and taught about himself. And I also love in that same conversation, he says, do those guys do that thing that I do that you like. So he's talking about the sex that they were having. And what's funny is
those guys do that thing that I do that you like. Yeah.
they do exactly. And actually they absolutely do. Because no doubt she's able to train multiple men. So she's an interesting character. I didn't put a lot of thought into Joyce, but I think it's worth it because she's the inverse. She's like the wounded feminine taking on the aspects of the toxic masculine in order to extract the emotional nutrition through sex that would otherwise be extracted from her. And maybe she was traumatized by a man who treated women just like Roger does. And she learned the wrong lesson, which was, oh, I need to be like them. I need to one up them. I need to be more powerful. I need to take that power for myself.
Fight fire with fire. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like it is a good lesson. It's a good object lesson in how toxic masculinity can engender toxic masculinity in women or toxic femininity even. And she's kind of masculine. She is. Like she's kind of the facial features and then the I don't know, the bone structure per se. I mean, she's feminine enough, but her position. And so that what we're getting into is like
I think it's just
gender.
her haircut.
Oh, is it really? That's it. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Well, we found
Yeah.
something finally. So thank you. Thank you for helping me find what I was looking for. Nice headphones, by the way.
Uh-huh.
I've been meaning to say that.
Rubbing alcohol on the laptop. All right. Yeah, no. Thanks.
Yeah. So, by the way, even the male gaze thing, enjoy perceiving the beauty of women. Notice it, focus, be aware, and attend. Why? Because within 500 fucking milliseconds, part of our occipital cortex has us register whether a woman is hot or not, so that we'll pay enough attention so that we can be aware of sexual stimuli and reproduce the species. Right? So that's a subconscious thing that happens before the conscious mind has any choice to intervene. So if you're on a date, women, with a man and he looks like that's not his fault. He's not like bad or wrong. He's just programmed by biology and evolutionary psychology to seek in a certain way. So like, I don't so much judge that. In fact, that's kind of one of my favorite parts of the film, where it's like angle of incidence equals angle of reflectance. Use the corners and what is it? Release yourself from the restriction of eye level. This is one of my favorite
I have
films.
eyes in the back of my head. Like, yeah.
On a good day, I see 360 degrees.
60 degrees. Yeah.
I don't believe that shit. That's stupid. You can't possibly.
Yeah. And he's just like, you don't know what to look for. That's all there is. It's not a matter of, oh, I have the eyes of a fruit fly. No, it's just literally, uh, you just got to know what to look for, man. Huh. Anyway, Tussle's hair. Go on, go ahead and do what you got to do. That's not the way I wanted to phrase it,
Oh, by the way, Joyce
but that is the
Maynard.
way he wanted to phrase it.
I
What?
thought Joyce Maynard was French, but ChatGPT confirmed it's not. It's actually English, which suggests to me that she probably had
Maynard is English, yes.
English and French parents. I don't know, because she seems French to me. I don't know. What do you think?
Or maybe Italian, uh, seeing as how she said the word clitorissimo.
No, that's just she knows music or something.
It's just fun.
Clitorises. I think it's stupid that he doesn't know the plural of clitoris.
Well, I'm searching clitorissimo to see if there's anything further than just like, oh, there's porn. Nope, we're going away from that. All right, go back to the Zoom meeting, and that's as far as I'm willing to go for that.
Oops.
Isimo just sounds Italian.
So, so okay. Um, the I think we're close to complete with my notes. So, your personality, Tyler, your personality is a collection of Vanity Fair articles.
What? No, my personality is a collection of Die-Hard films and video games and just incidental experiences from real life, and then a few books,
A few
but
books,
not a lot
a very
because I smoked
few
and
books.
drank a lot in my early years to the point where I just don't really remember all the formative stuff. And now I'm just kind of bumbling through life with surface level knowledge that makes me seem smart, but really I don't know that much.
Dude, I wasn't looking to actually insult you though. Thank
I
you.
offered it.
Okay. I absolutely vote victory for my brother and everyone who comes into my sphere of influence or like I love you all and
I
we're
did
like
that because I thought it would be a nice little window into me as a developing human being who's getting better and better with each
oh yeah,
passing
yeah.
day and
Every
year.
day in every way I am getting better and better.
Exactly. But then it's just funny to think, oh yeah, Vanity Fair articles. Yeah, especially the crossword puzzles.
Okay, can you yeah, that's great. I like
There are no crossword puzzles in Vanity Fair. I
that. You delivered it
don't
with
read them.
such confidence, man. Okay, so yeah, can you say in the Joker voice, every day in every way I'm getting weirder and weirder? Stranger and stranger, sorry.
I was almost going to use, you'd have to be more specific. There's so many. Clearly, you mean Heath Ledger
Yeah,
Joker,
always,
but I
man.
could do,
Never
I'm going
anything
to
else.
do,
Heath Ledger,
okay.
Ledger only
All right.
Joker.
You're asking for Heath Ledger Joker. Okay. I'm going to give you Mark Hamill Joker from the animated series instead.
Okay, fine.
Every day, I'm getting stranger and stranger.
That was so awesome that it made my I hit my computer. Um,
You hit your computer.
all
You've
right.
inflicted violence upon your technology. Don't you
Can you
remember
do
from
Heath Ledger
Jurassic Park
now?
that violence and
Okay.
technology are not good bedfellows?
Okay, it's not Jude Law. What's the one from the Joker film?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Can you do his?
No, because it's Joaquin Phoenix, and I don't know how to sound like him.
Yeah, nobody can really do that. Okay, that's fine.
He
So,
just, he just, it's a manic hunger is his. He just seems like he's hungry and he's anxious. That's how he sounds. Guys, this is now the pod. Forget what you just heard for the past hour and 48 minutes. It's now about this and only this. What does Joaquin Phoenix's voice sound like? Really? I mean, you could listen to audio files and watch movies with him in it,
I'd rather go back and watch
Napoleon
the deer
Bonaparte, but
decomposing.
really,
I'd
what?
rather I'd rather go back and watch the decomposition video.
Ah, full circle. Now I'm the one inspiring him. All right, cool.
Or more office stuff. All right. So one of my favorite phrases from this movie, we're coming close to the end here, is your relationship with her, not to her. Remember when the women were saying this about Roger's relationship with, and it's a subtle distinction, like he's not really related he's relating with people, but he's not related to them. Like he's not, I don't know. The distinction's almost so subtle as to be indiscernible and stupid. Because with to depends on what you mean, but in the context that they're using it, it kind of seems like relating with somebody it has empathy. Relating to them is like chess game. So that's the thing. That's
Laughing with and not at someone. If I
yeah.
were to use a phrase that I could distill it down to, yeah.
Yeah. So I think oh, I love everyone's response to Nick after Roger
Every,
blows up. They're like, what the fuck
yeah.
just happened? And then they see this kid wander through, and it's like, wait, what? What? It just gets weirder. This guy came back. This was
Who is this
2006,
kid?
by the way.
Why
Yeah.
is a kid here? Yeah. Like, it's funny. The prostitute doesn't even question that he's 16.
Oh, yeah. That, and I love
She's
how
like, if one thing's
casual.
illegal, then it's all illegal, and I don't even care anymore.
Well, she's so I love how casual, clinical, and non-emotional she is. Like she's clearly just there to do a job. And I love even more that he isn't turned on because there's no emotional connection. Like,
No, there's just like, okay, dick hard check. Why aren't you pressing the hard dick button so that we can press the series of buttons that creates the sec? I'm on the clock here. You paid me money.
so he isn't turned on because there's no emotional connection and also possibly because of alcohol. So the girl assumes she needs to turn him on. And that is where a man, like, okay, so a man might be horny before he uses porn, but I think for most men, they use porn in order to get horny. And then they use the horny that porn gave them to get off. Whereas I think originally, well, I don't know about
Yeah.
original. This is
Or if
speculation.
they artificially inflate their erection through pharmaceutical means.
Or
It's one of the two.
pharmaceutical, but also self-stimulation. Like a man
Yeah.
shows himself pictures of a woman when he wants to feel something like desire. And
Oh, yeah, we do. Oh.
it's interesting where you were going.
You guys, it's hoping you picked up on that, like
Is this the
too
second
real,
time
buddy, too
Tyler
real.
opens porn while he's on the podcast? I mean, that's like some crazy shit right there. By the way, so I one of my friends who is a coach, he told this story to me recently. I'm not going to name names about how when he was in college, he became a really successful male porn star. And then it fucked up the rest of his life because he can't get those images that are on the internet of him back. Like he lost jobs because of it. He's lost a business and there's all kinds of stuff. So like that's a whole nother conversation. But I noticed there's an arc throughout the film of less and less emotional connection in the options that Roger is putting before Nick. First, let's actually meet somebody out who you can develop a connection with. And they make out, right? And that's great. I'm so happy for them. First make out. I'm just here to get you through junior year. What an interesting phrasing, by the way. Um,
High school or college? That's
uh,
a different line later on that he says to Sophie when she says, "Yeah, my
yeah,
junior
and I
year
thought
is
that
when
was
I had my first
adorable too. It was so adorable. Kind of makes me want to watch The Social Network
historical."
because, or Batman v.
Just Jesse Eisen,
Superman.
yeah, adorkable is Jesse Eisenberg. That's his niche. That's his adjective.
That would be a fun marathon for us to watch this movie and then The Social Network and then Batman v. Superman: Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. Um, I love how nonplussed you
I'm
are.
I'm making sure you sent that video because I need to know that it exists. Let me open it real quick. Dear decomposition, Lewis, this minute is only it's only a minute and 39
Would you
seconds long.
rather would you rather watch that than Batman v. Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition?
Yes, for so many reasons.
But
This video is not even 2 minutes. That movie's probably 3 fucking hours. Thank you, Zack Snyder. I appreciate
it's
your
got
art, but that's so much time.
but it's got a
That's
44 degree on Never mind.
What's a 44 degree? Wait, where are you going with what do you mean?
44%. All right, we're declining, just like these options that this guy was giving Nick. So,
Oh, cool. His insides are on his outsides. Decomposition is right. Sorry, guys. I'm watching the decomposition
damn
video.
it, Tyler. Get your head
You
in the
should put
game.
that in the show notes.
Get your head in the game. We got to finish this. All right.
Lewis, you need to put this in the show notes when people click on the YouTube video and they wonder what we're talking about. You
Okay.
need to
I'll put
link
it in the
that.
show notes. I'll put it in the show notes. So,
All right, cool. Yeah,
what
we've never hunted before, so we don't know. But
last
yeah.
last review and my last thought on the film, and then we'll close with closing salvo. I don't know that we've got much left, but as
Oh,
much as I
last Kobo's last gleaming, we'll call it.
as much as I don't want it to be true, roses, bunnies, and rainbows instead, it strikes me that we are in an evolution constricted world. And so a lot of what Roger is pointing to, like men are only as good as what they're useful for with women, and like women don't need us for sexual pleasure. And so I don't, the problem with what he considers to be natural selection is that natural selection is no longer in play in human culture. There's a certain kind of selection process, but it's artificial right now. It's who can make enough money and create enough social status and other stuff. Like those are all factors. If you're broke or unemployed or like fat and obese, whatever, it has an impact.
So hard in the mic. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It is based on all those factors which have no they have a big bearing on your personality at large because of how they influence your behavior or how you achieving those things influence your own behavior. But like, yeah, yeah, the survival of the fittest is all internal. It's not like, okay, this could kill me physically. Like I can't compete with this physical specimen. He's going to club me to death.
Oh, right.
So I'll have to trick him. Yeah.
We funny guys, you see some badasses on
Patton Oswalt. This is a Patton Oswalt routine, guys. You should look up Patton Oswalt. He distills it so perfectly. Like he's like, if I could trip him into believing that there's sky cake that he could eat when he dies, if he doesn't kill me, then I could survive. And
psych
then we could just get along. Yeah.
cake
Yeah, sky cake.
talking about. I don't understand.
Sky cake is his metaphor for most major religions.
Interesting. Okay. So
Like
we
it is kind of disingenuous, but it makes a point. It makes the point
I like
without
the
completely
idea.
giving it their due.
I like the idea of having a longer conversation that somehow involves comedy. Because I've
Two guys, check out our other podcast, TBD.
check out all of our past podcasts with people like Richard and Steve and
Oh
those
yeah, that too. That too. If you can excuse the conference call audio quality, there's really good stuff to hear in there.
Oh man, those were the days, huh?
Yeah,
Those were
this
the
there's
days.
days where I just sort of got up and used the bathroom in the middle of an episode.
Out of my face, B. So this, all right, it was a B. Um,
I don't kill it, but swat it away gently so that
quoting
it can
Roger
pollinate
Ebert, quoting
our
Roger
crops.
Ebert, where Nick is
Huh?
funny and earnest, he and generates many laughs. The movie is really about Roger, about his attempts to tutor his nephew in a lifestyle that has left the older man lonely and single. Nine. I'm gonna give it actually a 9.5 out of 10. It's great. What do you give it? Where are you at with this thing?
I You've made it a 10 out of 10 for me because of the conversation that we got to have as a result. And if you guys hear screaming in the background, that's my roommate playing Ark, a Survival Ascended, a video game where people survive on an island with dinosaurs,
Oh man.
which I don't know what meaning that has for this conversation, but very little. But yeah, no, that's precisely why it is now a 10 for me. And I knew it was going to at the time it was an 8 out of 10. But now, like as soon as I was texting Lewis last night, I was telling him, "Oh, I want to hear everything you have to say about this. Make love easy. I want to know exactly where you're going, what is your stream of consciousness that you experienced as a result of everything this film is subtly teaching people.
You know what I feel like doing after this, man?
Hmm.
Hitch. Or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I mean, like, I'd much prefer Hitch, but or Her. We haven't done Her
With,
on this podcast
with
yet.
her, I have yet to see her.
What?
The film with Scarlett Johansson playing an audio AI woman that Joaquin Phoenix's character sort of bonds with, and yeah, no, I haven't seen her before.
Let's do Hitch
You want
first.
to do? Let's do Hitch first. What are you drinking? I've got healthy electrolyte spiked water.
I've
Mm.
got, I guess there are probably electrolytes in the green powders.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, what's the product? What's the product you got there? Who do you want to advertise for
Oh,
without
I'm not
money?
going to
We're not
advertise for
being
any money.
paid.
We're not getting paid for it. Let's
All
wait till
right. Well,
we
I
start
will
getting.
advertise sans money. This is redacted, and it is delicious, and it is. I've never had anything better than, and this is supposed to get you feeling much better. Your skin looks
And
better.
click the link
Your body
below
feels.
to we're affiliates, so we can get you a discount
Yeah,
on this
click the
product
link
that is
below.
famous.
Exactly, and the link is to the tear composition video.
All right, so there's actually a lot of different films that we could watch. There's Hitch. There's
Yeah.
Year Old Virgin could be interesting. There's 500 Days of Summer. Have you seen those?
500 Days of Summer, I was supposed to see with romantic partner 16 years ago,
All
and I
right, then
didn't.
then we're really glad you didn't. So, or we could watch Ex Machina.
Okay, I've seen Ex Machina,
Seen Ex Machina
and
too.
that, oh, woof. That is
It's not about love. It's really not. It's not about
it's
like
not about
making a
love.
relationship.
It's about how terrible people can turn other terrible people into terrible people.
Okay.
Or
Well, then
not so no, they can turn blank slates into like very much a creation of that terrible person that is out to do more terrible in the world.
I think we should watch Passengers from 2016. It's really
Science
good.
fiction vehicle with Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. Yeah, I don't know. I
And
don't know
Edge
if
of
that's a bad idea.
Tomorrow.
I think that might be a good idea considering the vehicle we just used for you to teach people about
I think
toxic masculinity and what can
not.
create
All right. So this
healthy, wholesome relationships.
what else do you have here for the movie? Because you had to have taken some notes, right? Don't let
Hemorrhoids. I have
don't let it
hemorrhoid.
end
Just
this
kidding.
way. Don't let
Don't
it
let
end
it
this way.
end this way. It's
Yeah.
been 2 hours. You think people want to hear my fucking thoughts after 2 hours?
I mean, I do. Just give me something. Give me one thing.
Oh, man. All I really have are the quotes that I liked that I thought could have been expounded upon more by what you had to say.
Okay. So,
Like maybe she was afraid to see you in person. I mean, after what happened at the funeral. So this is an allusion to the grandfather and
I
why
mean,
there's
after
it's
what
like,
happened at
listen,
the funeral.
that happened because your grandfather is a king-sized prick, all right? King-sized is a what an interesting way to describe prick because like this now I think of King George the Fourth and what happened between the colonists that came over here and stole the land from the Native Americans and decided to make it a beautiful story
That's ironic.
instead about fighting tyranny. But yeah, no, yeah, the irony is it's breathtaking.
Irony. What is it? No, the irony is all mine. The, the irony is
If
still mine.
yeah, you get an American that's just like with what appears to be like Native American artifacts hanging on his wall in the background of his video.
Is that? I don't know what you're talking about now, but all right. Give me some
It's a
more.
hypothetical and it doesn't matter. Okay, we can move on. Jeez.
All right. What was your final? You said it was a 10 out of 10. All right.
There's a
So
10
we
out of 10 now. Yeah.
have vague suggestions about where the podcast might go next. And we appreciate you listening. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please comment below with your thoughts and retorts and responses and arguments against our controversial views.
I have one more thing I
Go
wanted to
ahead.
dispute before you go further. I apologize because I know that's
No,
how
go
we get
ahead.
listeners. When Roger's telling the kids in 10 years, you won't even remember what this place looks like. Trust me.
You
He's full
will.
of shit. I know exactly what my high school looked like, and I was
Oh yeah,
kind of a
yeah, yeah.
loser back then.
I
Yeah.
forgot this. I forgot this. When the kid says you got to show her you're in control, and he says, "Look at your face in
Look at your
control."
face. Yeah, he shits all over that kid, and it is so satisfying. Even though he's just a kid and it's kind of abusive.
I mean, it is what it is.
But yeah, it is what it is. But
Yeah,
just take them down a peg because they're too hormonal for their own good. Um,
I also think Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind for sure. I think
if I had to pick one, I would say that one next. But you wanted to do Hitch, so let's do Hitch.
Go team. Great time. So
I get to pick the next one.
then there's like Friends with Benefit. We could do that. That was
Are
entertaining.
no friends with benefits? Are no strings attached?
Yeah. That was another film I think I remember enjoying. And then we could watch I don't know about Gattaca, but yeah, I think
This is the Make Love Easy arc. Clever
that
Orbits Make Love Easy arc. Yeah.
All right. On three, two, one for Make Love Easy. Three, two, one.
2, 1.
Make
Love
love
Easy Make.
easy.